Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and today I'm going to be going over 10 cards that you should really pick up before Temporal Forces comes out and before rotation happens, because these cards are potentially going to become incredibly important. And I just realized there's a card I forgot, which is Daisy's Help, so I'll add that to the list. But yeah, these cards are. Oh, apparently I only have the full art. So I don't actually own. There's one card I don't own on this list, and as I said 10. There's more than 10, but they kind of group together. So, and 10 looks better in the thumbnail anyways, right? But anyway, these are cards that you should really look into picking up before rotation. Admittedly, if you're playing online, you can just pick them up after rotation. They're not like more expensive. But if you're playing physically with the actual cards, I'd highly recommend you pick up a lot of these cards, especially if you're interested in them. But some will be useful in pretty much, I guess none will be useful in like every deck, but they're all good in certain decks that either are new decks or counters to new decks. We'll get into it. First of all, Pidgeot EX though, this is probably the most generally applicable one. Its ability Quick Search is really good. It lets you search for a card every single turn. Its attack is actually pretty usable as well. Not amazing, but decent. It has Hero Tree. It's a really good Pokemon. The only reason it hasn't seen absurd amounts of play up to this point, although it has seen a decent amount, but it hasn't seen as much because Path to the Peak is shutting it down. One thing I want to say about this is there is a card, Iron Thorns EX, which is coming out not in Temporal Forces. I don't know when it's coming out. I believe it's coming out the set after, but I don't believe that's been confirmed or anything. Um, so that was kind of a counter to this card, but it's nowhere near as good as Path to the Peak, so you don't need to worry about that too much, I wouldn't say. Um, but yeah, this card's really good without Path to the Peak in the format because now it's actually reliable. Before, if you got Pathed, and then like Ionode or something, Roxanne, and your hand was disrupted, that was really bad for you. You need to probably draw some way to bump Path or the card you needed, but it was pretty awkward. So not having Path is going to be really good for this. There is a Flutter Mane that can turn this off, but that's only if it's in the active. So don't put it in the active if you want to use its ability and your opponent's playing Flutter Mane. But aside from that, yeah, this card's really good. It's also pretty good pre-rotation as well, so it's not like a crazy thing, but it's one that I wanted to mention. Another engine, though, that's really good is the Barrel engine. This one, most of you already have. In fact, I have it. I think everyone might have it on live. It's free. I think. I don't remember all the decks, but that sounds right. But that's not the full picture because we got a new Barrel, or this isn't a new Barrel, but it's a Barrel. I literally didn't have this card before, but its ability Reassuring Dam. As long as this Pokemon is on your bench, cards in your deck can't be discarded by effects of your opponent's attacks, abilities, item cards, or supporter cards. There are stadiums, so that those can still discard, but that's good. I mean, that like lets you use Pokestop, I guess. Anyway, so this is pretty interesting. One, it has to be on your bench. So if it's in the active, it's not working, but this stops mill. Your opponent will, of course, try to gust this up and then mill, but for the most part, it won't be in the active that much, and definitely play a decent amount of switch or ways to like retreat. Probably both. And so, but you want to play some of that anyway with Barrel. And so this is an easy tech into a Barrel engine because Mill is going to be very solid in the next expansion because we have a Great Tusk, which is super good. And speaking of Mill, there's another card, Patrol Cap. There we go. As long as this it's a tool, as long as the Pokemon this card is attached to is in the active. So it's the opposite that you want this one to be in the active. You could actually put Patrol Cap on Barrel so that all times you're stopping Mill, but pretty much it's the same exact thing. This says cards in your deck can't be discarded by effects of your opponent's attacks, abilities, items, tools, or supporters. So this does stop tools and abilities as opposed to this one, which doesn't stop tools because of actually a rule change after it was printed. Um, but it's really good. Both of these are really good and really easy to use. The reason why you might not play them, obviously, one, you're not too worried about Mill, but it's definitely a top 10 deck. I think pretty much everyone agrees upon that post rotation. So you will see it, and it's easy to use. Patrol Cap can get lost vacuumed, so if you really want to play it, play like 2 copies. But um, I'm not super familiar with Mill lists, but I don't think they play lost vacuum that commonly. So Patrol Cap, you can put 1 copy in, and I imagine 2 copies will almost certainly get the job done. And just make sure it's on your active. Don't put another tool either. If you need another tool in your active, don't play Patrol Cap. You don't have to play these in every deck, but if you're playing decks that you're worried about getting decked out, such as Lost Zone, such as actually Control versus Mills, kind of a weird match, and so you might want these cards. then play these. And I think if you're playing a barrel engine, it's pretty decent to play this other barrel. The one issue obviously is it is a barrel, so you want one of the you'd always want your engine in play, and so you need another Bidoof. It's a little awkward, but it's not that awkward. Yeah, definitely play this. I feel like it's pretty good, unless you're like not worried about decking out at all. But Mill is gonna be pretty decent if you don't tech against it. Next up, we have Future stuff, and Future Box is pretty decent. It's not amazing, and there's a lot of complexities, but I think it will have some. It has very good potential, is what I'm going to say. And so you want Iron Valiant EX, Future Boost Energy Capsule, which there's a decent chance you already have those, but then Techno Radar. And Techno Radar is the most important, or one of the most important cards in Future Box because it lets you search for any two future Pokemon from your deck. They have to be basics because they're all basics, but this is really nice. Or so far, they're all basics, I should say. But anyway, this is really cool because it obviously gets future Pokemon, and with those future Pokemon, then you can just play them down. You do need to discard a card from your hand, but honestly, that can be good a lot of the time. This card's really good in Future Box. Future Boost Energy Capsule also is, and an Iron Valiant EX I think is really good in the deck. Um, we just want to keep in mind that pick up Techno Radar. That's what I'm saying. This is the biggest, and the other two are really nice as well. But there's a great chance you already have them. Techno Radar, a lot of people don't really have, but you want 4 copies in every Future Box deck. It's really good in that deck. Next up, we have a control card here. We have Mantine, or Mantine, I don't know how to say this. Echoing Horn was a really good card pre-rotation, but where it's rotating. Mantine has essentially, it's actually better than Echoing Horn, but it lets you put a basic Pokemon from either player's discard onto that player's bench for 1 energy, 1 colorless energy as its attack. And this is pretty good. It's not as good as Echoing Horn because it's not an item, it's your attack, but it's still pretty good, and I'd highly recommend you pick up a copy of it if you ever plan on playing Control. This can be Snorlax Control, this can be Mawile Control, this could even be Great Tusk Mill. It's not, this is certainly an option in Great Tusk Mill and not like a bad one. Especially if Great Tusk, the way it works is you need to play supporters, ancient supporters every turn, but if you don't play an ancient supporter, it's pretty underwhelming. It's just mill 1. So instead, if you don't play an ancient supporter, you can also in that turn attack with like Mantine or something. Anyway, this card's super good, super important to control. I don't think there's another option, but yeah, Mantine is really, really good. Next up, Iron Bundle. I don't know about this one. It is a future Pokemon as well, which is kind of nice. But if it's on your bench, you can discard it and force your opponents active to the bench. This is a replacement to Escape Rope, kind of. Escape Rope forces your opponents active to the bench, and is also a switch for you. It's obviously not the same as Iron Bundle, but Iron Bundle is pretty nice in certain scenarios. So if you do, so for example, I personally don't really care that much for this effect. But I know there are some people who really love the effect of Escape Rope, forcing your opponents active to the bench, in which case 100% play an Iron Bundle, or maybe 2, honestly. It doesn't really take up bench space. You need to play it, and then it'll like, you can discard it and it'll clear up the bench space, so it's pretty nice there. You can attack with it, but it's not that good. But for the most part, Iron Bundle's a pretty nice and easy tech that you can put into any deck, and if you just want to be able to force your opponents active to the bench, it's nice. And a lot of people don't really know about this option. This one I recommend you pick up if you want. Next up, we have Lugia V-Star and Lugia V-Star and Archeops, and that's the Lugia Archeops archetype. If you don't know much about it, you get a bunch of special energy in play. With Archeops, you get Archeops into play with Lugia. A long story short, the deck's going to be good post rotation. We're getting a new Chinchino, as well as Mist Energy, which is a pretty good special energy. And so with the two of those cards, Lugia Archeops is going to be good again. Arguably, some people have said it's the best deck. I definitely don't think it's the best deck, but it's easily top 10, potentially top 5. And it's a pretty good deck post rotation, so I'd recommend you pick up the cards. I think it's the main deck that's like a returning deck, or like a deck that's a new deck to the format that is not that it isn't like all new cards, right? It's like Future Box is new, but it's because all the Pokemon are new. Lugia has some new Pokemon with the Chinchino to attack with, but and obviously it's been a deck before as well, and it's a deck now. I'm not going to say it's not, but it's not played too much. Next up, we have Dialga V-Star, very similar vein, I guess. This one's worse. I'm definitely going to say it's worse than Lugia by a pretty long shot. But if you're someone who likes playing Dialga, now you don't need to play Magnezone. There's a new Metang, which is similar, but it's weaker, but it's a stage 1. And so you can play that with Dialga V-Star, Origin Form Dialga V-Star. Um, And yeah, it's pretty good if you're interested in that. You could also get Zamazenta. You'd probably play that in the list. Overall, I think Dalga V-Star is a moderately fun archetype, and if you're someone who enjoys it, you can play it post rotation, and it's definitely going to be somewhat viable. I don't think it's going to be like a top deck, but certainly if you want to play it, then play it. The last Pokemon we're covering today is Darkrai V-Star, but not for an attacker. Is it an attacking option? I guess, but it's not very good, especially losing Clear and Moltres V. Then that's not good. But Dark Pulse, yeah, we're not worried about that. We're worried about Star Abyss, the V-Star power ability. And there are a number of decent V-Star powers, but one thing, we are losing Pokemon Vs, a lot of them, not all of them, obviously, but a decent chunk. And so Forest Steel Stone will get a little worse, and I guess another other the Steel Stones, people don't play the other ones, but Forest Steel Stone will get worse. So then you're looking at other V-Star powers, such as Arceus V-Star's V-Star power, which I was considering putting here. But then also Darkrai V-Star's V-Star power, which recovers up to 2 items when you discard into your hand, including A-Spec items. This does not include A-Spec tools, but it includes A-Spec items like Prime Catcher and Reboot Pod, which are both really good. And being able to use them a second time, especially Reboot Pod, if you can reuse that one, that's insane. If you reuse Prime Catcher, that's pretty nice. It's like Cross Switcher, but it's only one card, which is nice. And so Starbase is pretty good there. Actually, very good there. Assume you can make the bench space and deck space for it. But overall, I think Darkrai V-Star is a really good card for reusing A-Specs. I mean, it's the best way to reuse them. I mean, you can. So there's 2 special energies. Yeah, I think it's the best way to reuse them. It's a very powerful card and V-Star power. In my opinion, it's the most underrated V-Star power in the game. It's very good. It's not that much worse than Arceus. It's worse early game, but it's probably better late game. But then obviously it also um, it only recovers items. You could also do Regidrago V-Star, which recovers other things. Like it can recover anything, but it also mills your deck. There's some weird stuff. I'd say Darkrai V-Stars when you want to pick up. You could get Regidrago as well. But then we have a few more trainer cards. First of all, you have Gutsy Pickaxe. Reveal the top card of your deck. If that card is a fighting energy, attach it to one of your bench Pokemon. Otherwise, you just draw it. So just drawing one isn't particularly impressive, but getting that fighting energy guaranteed is really good if you can guarantee it. And there is a way, and we're not talking about Arc Phone. You could use Arc Phone. Um, Switching cups or swap cups, I believe, is rotating, but you can use Gutsy Pickaxe. Wait, is switching cups? I'm pretty sure it is. Oh yeah, that's definitely rotating. So Gutsy Pickaxe here is not though, and you you reveal the top card of your deck, and you can guarantee it with Cryptomaniac's Deciphering, Codebreaker's Solution. There's a supporter that's the same as Mallow. Then you put any 2 cards from your deck on top of it. One of those can be a fighting energy, and then you just accelerate it. Or they can both be fighting energies. You play 2 Gutsy Pickaxe and accelerate it. This is an underrated combo. I haven't heard like anyone talk about. That doesn't mean no one's talking about it, but I just haven't heard it. And this combo is potentially insane because it's like, I mean, it's item energy acceleration. You do need a supporter, but it's pretty good. It's not bad at all. It's something super overlooked, somewhat consistent. It's decently consistent. You are using your supporter, essentially not for draw, but I think you can get away with this to make a turbo fighting basic deck potentially. Fighting Pokemon, there aren't any like particularly amazing ones. There is a fun little iron, um, the Tracheon one, Iron Boulder. There we go, Boulder EX, which is okay. It's I think a little better than people are giving it credit for. It's not like absolute trash, which I think some people have been saying. It's not amazing, but with Gutsy Pickaxe and the future support, it could be pretty decent. Next up, we have Arc Phone and Daisy's Help, which are the last cards for today. Daisy's Help, draw 2 cards, look at your face down prizes, and Arc Phone, look at the top card of your deck. Hopefully, it's not something important. You may, or I don't know, it can be whatever, and you may switch it with one of your face down prize cards. But you want to obviously know what prize cards they are. You can use Daisy's Help. The combo of these 2 cards together is really useful because it lets you just take any card from your prizes you want. On top of that, it also can be comboed with that Codebreaker's Solution or Cryptomaniac's Deciphering, which is really useful. You obviously can't play Daisy's Help and Cryptomaniac's Deciphering on the same turn, but if you play Daisy's Help the next turn do Cryptomaniac's Deciphering, you can swap any card in your prizes with any card in your deck, which is which is absolutely insane because that's going to give you a lot of power. Of course, it's 2 turns of supporter use, and Daisy's Help is drawing 2. Cryptomaniac's Deciphering is not drawing any. But overall, it's really good. and you can get some really powerful value out of this. I would highly recommend you honestly play this in a lot of decks. It's really good. It's not broken, but I think it's really good. I think it's better than Peonia. It's more pieces, right? But we're losing Peonia as well. I didn't say that, but we're losing Peonia, so Arc Phone is really nice for that. And it's pretty consistent because it kind of just does its thing. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider subscribing, liking the video, and check out my other content because I'm doing more temporal for I just woke up. I'm doing more temporal forces stuff. There we go. And I'm going to be doing more post-rotation stuff, and I got some really cool stuff planned as well. I'm getting close to 1,000 subs. I got a cool video I'm working on for that. But I hope you enjoyed, and as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.